Chief Operating Officer of Delta Airlines. My career has been very varied. I've worked in a number of different industries as well as a number of different companies. Straight out of business school in financial analysis, and then worked for another big company called G.D. Searle, which was for a couple of years. Went back to the family business that my father had started in 1969 and ran that business with my father for about 7 years. Then left there when my brother and sister decided to come into the family business and decided to go back into the big corporate world, and went to a company called Aviall, which primarily did engine overhauls for jet engines off of airline aircraft and commercial aircraft. And there I spent almost 10 years in that company, and that's probably where I developed the most in my career. They sold that company at that particular time. I went over to Northwest Airlines in Minneapolis, Minnesota to initially do their engine maintenance, and progressed over the 5 years at Northwest, progressed in my career to the Executive Vice President of Operations at Northwest Airlines. After about 5 years there, I decided to do something different, and I went and was President of North America for Krispy Kreme Donuts, at a time that Krispy Kreme Donuts was the hottest brand in America in 2001, 2002. After a couple years there, I really wanted to get my first shot at a Chief Executive Officer position, and was recruited to do a turnaround on Greyhound bus lines, which at that particular time was a company that was near bankruptcy again for the second time, and was there for 4 years, and we did a very successful turnaround with a team of really good people. Sold the company, and at that particular time Delta Airlines had just had a major change, and Richard Anderson was their Chief Executive Officer, and Richard recruited me to come be the Chief Operating Officer of Delta Airlines. At that particular time we were looking at merging with another airline, and the decision was made to merge with Northwest Airlines, which coincidentally is where I'd spent 5 years of my career in the late 90s. And so over the last 3 years I've been the Chief Executive Officer at Delta Airlines, responsible for all of operations and putting together the two companies after the merger with Northwest Airlines. In undergraduate, I actually thought I wanted to be a mathematics major and was going down the path of being a math major. I figured out that when I looked at the potential occupations of a math major, I decided to change course, because I would either be a math teacher at some level of education, or I'd be an actuary in a life insurance company. And neither one of those really jazzed me up. And so at that particular time I decided to be an accountant. And I'd taken a lot of accounting courses, and accounting, as you would expect, has a lot of mathematics and numbers in it. But one thing I did in undergraduate, I went and did an internship in a accounting department of an insurance company. And what that really did was open my eyes to what an accountant does every day as a part of their job. Again, was not something that I thought I could have a lot of passion for. And so my career changed again from a standpoint of thinking about what I wanted to do in my career, and I decided that I would go straight from undergraduate to get my master's in business administration, which is more commonly termed an MBA. And I went to Bradley University in Central Illinois to get my MBA, with the thought being I wanted to be the manager of a business at some point in my career, as opposed to an accountant or a mathematician. I've enjoyed my career. Like anything else, you have jobs that were more fun than others, particularly as you reflect back on them. What I've really enjoyed is the change. I really love learning, and as I've moved from different industries, whether it was the auto industry to the hospital industry, which was G.D. Searle, to the small family business, which was in the printing and typesetting business, then back into the corporate world in aircraft engine overhaul, even Krispy Kreme, to learn the casual dining and fast food business was a tremendous amount of fun. I really enjoy learning in detail about different industries. I find there's a lot of commonalities, but also there's very unique things about different industries. And so I have had a lot of fun. As I reflect back, the job I had the most fun in, I think, was Greyhound bus lines. At Greyhound bus lines, It was the first time that I was the leader of a business, put together a team, put together a business plan to turn around what was a failing company. Had a great team with a lot of really good employees, and we were able to successfully turn around the company. So it was my first shot at being a chief executive officer, and it was just really fun to be the buck stopped with me. At the end of the day, it was my decisions, but we had a great team that had a lot of knowledge. But at the end of the day, I was the one that was accountable and responsible for turning around the business, and I really enjoyed it. So that was the first time I was the head coach. One of the things that I really focused on in my career is, early in my career, particularly in big businesses, I had a few leaders that I viewed, frankly, that a term that's probably not very respectful, but is probably descriptive in some cases, is you hear the term empty suit, and you sit there and scratch your head and said, boy, how did they get to that level? Because they don't seem to know a lot about our business, and they don't seem to be a good leader. And one of the things I really wanted to make sure was, if I ever did reach that stage, that no one would make that comment about me unless it was my fault because I didn't get done what I wanted to get done. So really what I focused on was learning as much about all the different aspects of business as I could, which means many times in my career, particularly in the 10 years at Aviall, I took different positions that were not promotions, but they were to completely different parts of the business. Went from financial to sales and marketing to customer service to production, so that by the time I became a general manager of running that engine business, I think I had worked at every area of the business except for directly in the engineering department. And so I felt I had prepared myself and learned a lot in order to be a good general manager, because I had a lot of subject matter experience and knowledge in all different aspects of the business. And I think that's probably the thing that I did in my career, was always look for different positions where I could learn more about the business, and not in the short term get worried about, is this a promotion, and is this the right thing for my career, as opposed to just thinking about, is this a way I could learn more about the business so that I have knowledge that would help me down the road. Some of the most fun in my job, two things I'd say. One is managing and leading people. In a large company, you have a lot of different groups of employees from all different backgrounds, walks of life, races, creeds, religions, everything. It's a very large, at Delta Airlines, we have 70,000 employees around the whole world, and again, an unbelievably diverse group. And to get to know those people and to lead those people by being genuine, by being honest, I think that's a big piece of having fun, where you can lead a team to success and all the team feels they're a part of that success, is really a fun piece. I tell you, the other piece that's really fun is I really like gnarly business problems, and that I can really dig in with the team into the processes and the people and develop solutions, and then implement those solutions for success for the business. I think my father went out and left the corporation and started his own business in 1969. And so throughout my younger years, obviously, I was the person who was the utility player for my father, whether it would be maintenance or whether it would be just whatever he wanted me to do. I always did that on Saturdays and in the evenings and that type of thing, even though I was also always very active in other activities at school. And what I really saw from that is, one of the things in a small business that you never forget is you need to, number one, bring in enough revenue and enough cash that you can make your payroll every week. And that is something that people that only work in big business, I think, sometimes forget, because it kind of becomes monopoly money to people when they work in a very large business. So when you've worked in a small business, you understand the importance of cash and cash flow and growth that's profitable, that's producing positive cash flow. And I think that, and then you also get an unbelievable feel for the accountability you have for the results of the business. Particularly like in my father's case, his name was a part of the business and was on the building. And so when your name is on the building and it's part of the business, to your customers, you are the company. And so there's an unbelievable accountability there. And I think I learned a lot from that entrepreneurship and small business that I worked in for 7 years with my father and my mother. but also by observing them when I was in high school and college as well. I think that a couple things of my principles of leadership really are, I've got kind of four principles that I build everything on in terms of how I lead and how I manage, which are be humble, be honest, work hard, and always be prepared. And to me, no matter what your career, that is really principles that anyone, if they follow those, they could be successful. But I will say there is very little out there in the business world nowadays that you don't really need to work hard. Everybody needs to work hard, but you also need to work smart. And you need to have some fun while you're doing it. And I think what we find more and more nowadays is everybody does work so hard. The workplace and the people you work with and work for and work around every day becomes your family, because that's where you're spending most of your time. And so they really are part of your extended family. And if you think about the values and the approach you want to use with your family, that's really what I think now is successful in business, where everybody's holding up their end of the bargain and working hard, but at the same time have a lot of respect for each other, they value each other, and work on things together. Best advice I could give someone as they look at their career is, first of all, be flexible, because usually how it ends up is not how it turns out. It doesn't. How it ends up is not how it starts out, and it's not how you have your plans when you begin, because you may find out different things along the way that change the path. But I will say one of the things that you should always keep in mind is do take risk and push yourself. If it's something that you feel a little uncomfortable of, I just don't know if I can do that job, that's probably the next job for you, because you probably can do that job as long as you approach it the right way. So you should always look at taking a few risks. Don't always be wearing your career on your sleeve, no matter where you are in a company. The best way to get ahead is by whatever job you're doing at that time, do it to the best of your ability and do it well, and allow people to notice that you do a good job, you work hard, you care, and you produce results. And that's the best way to get ahead. Unfortunately, oftentimes there's this thought process that the way I get ahead is by knowing the right people, shining the right people's shoes, or whatever analogy you want to use. And I think more and more in today's world, with all businesses always so focused on cost and the numbers, is the best way to get ahead is by doing whatever job you're doing to the absolute best of your ability, and people will notice that. It's a combination of working hard and working smart and taking risk, particularly risk personally into different positions, as well as being able to, on the job itself, take some risks sometime by stepping out there and doing something extraordinary for your customer or for your fellow employees that really sets you apart from the rest of the crowd. Education, I think, is important in any field, but in particular if you want to go into the management and leading of companies, it's critically important. Now, which field you go into is probably not near as important as just going and getting your education. When I say education, for sure from the standpoint of you have to have a high school education. That is just a given. And you're behind the power curve if you don't have a high school education, and you'll probably never be able to catch up, except for those rare exceptions. And then in more and more, particularly in terms of leadership and managing companies, whether it's a small business or it's within a large company, the college education is really important. And again, I don't know if it's necessarily what field you go into. I know many people who lead businesses, big businesses, that didn't study business in school. They were lawyers, or they were in art and design, they were in liberal arts, they were in engineering, they were history majors. The major doesn't really matter in the field of study as much as the maturing and learning that you do in that 4 years at a good institution. And it is worth, particularly if you can't afford it, to get that financing and get that payback on having that college education. I think for some positions, some postgraduate study is important. Oftentimes you will see, particularly in leaders of large companies, nearly everyone has their MBA, their Master's in Business Administration. Typically though, they've gotten their high school education, they've gotten their college undergraduate, they've gone into the work world for 3 to 5 years or sometimes as many as 10 years, and then decided for that last bit of their education they really need to get the master's in business administration that gets at all the disciplines of business, whether it's finance, leadership, strategy, corporate responsibility, and social responsibility, all those aspects to round it all out from an education standpoint to get to the top of a big business. Education is extremely important, and I will tell you, on the other hand, there's a lot of professions you don't need a college education, but you need to get your high school degree, and then you need to get post-high school education. Unfortunately, I know from the type of business that I operate, which is a large operation, where we do a tremendous amount of mechanical work on airplanes, where we have a lot of mechanical work on equipment at airports, we have customer service jobs in airports. All of those, there are other types of education beyond high school that are not your traditional college education. There's trade schools to be mechanics, to be welders. There's junior college classes to understand business and get customer service skills. Those are just as important in building that foundation, and you can actually get really good jobs with that kind of education and get jobs that'll be good for the rest of your life. For those of you that watch this, I hope you've learned a little bit from me sharing my experiences and my thoughts, and I wish you good luck. And if I could close with anything else, it'd be probably 2 thoughts. Number 1, work hard. And when I say work hard, whether it's on your education or in your professional career. And number 2, don't be afraid to take risk and have some confidence that you can get something done, even if others think you don't. Don't think you can. Thank you.